everyone. As usual, there are captions on. Go ahead and toggle them if needed. Now to start. The gods are the gods, and we know that to be true. But what if that wasn't true and there was a way to become a god? Now stick with me here. Hello, I'm your host with the most, Zia, and once more, I'm here to tell you about a topic that interests me. Today's topic is deified mortals. And when I say deified mortals, I mean actual deified mortals, not myths like Heracles or Hyankinthos. Like me, you might believe that there are many gods and you may only choose some to worship, like some from the same pantheon, or you choose an eclectic mix. Or you may believe in only one pantheon. I'm not going to say which one is right to believe. I don't know the general consensus about this, but I would assume that a lot of people would think that the gods are the gods and there's like a set amount and there will never be any new ones. Now, like I said, I don't really know the opinion on this especially because of pantheons, but those beliefs range. Whether or not this is a common belief today, it was likely not in ancient Greece, hence the title. Now, this isn't a deep dive, but a few things that I learned through some books I've read. If you would actually like me to do a deep dive, let me know. The two examples that we are going to use today come from the books Girls and Women in Classical Greek Religion and Spirit, Possession, Mediation, and Ambiguity in Ancient Greek Worship of Dionysos. We're going to start with the second book about Dionysos. In Dionysos' worship, he was often seen as the god of crossing or breaking boundaries. The participants in his worship were seen as crossing the boundary of human to animal to divine. A common theme in his worship was to attain a better afterlife due to having a closer connection to Dionysus. This connection to the afterlife played into the divine-human boundary as they were seen as gaining a divine status in the afterlife. This is seen with a line that was found on a Thuri tablet, which are sets of early to mid-4th century inscriptions found in southern Italy. The line reads, "You have become a god instead of a mortal," addressing the deceased worshipper of Dionysus, that implied that she had attained a permanent divine status upon her death. Worshippers of Dionysus believed that commitment to Dionysus allowed them to attain a divine status, both temporarily in the mortal world during a rite. In this text, there are also mentions of being filled with the gods, don't laugh, through possession, where Dionysus possesses worshippers, temporarily crossing the human divine boundary. But this possession may have been more than being filled with the god, but may have not only been joining your soul with Dionysus, but also with the whole group, Theastos. This text doesn't really touch that much on the topic of deified mortals, only that one line hinting towards it, but this other text does give us a bigger glimpse into this world. Our next examples are from Girls and Women in Classical Greek Religion. Now, these examples talk about hero-wise women, but tomato potato. Unfortunately, these examples only include, as the title says, classical Greek religion, so nothing from the other eras. But in the book, it was implied that it was more common to be heroized / deified in the Hellenistic era. I have to research it more because now I'm super curious. Also, of course, this book is only talking about women, so this example will only be mentioning women, really. Women may not have only helped find a cult for a deity or even themselves, but they may have been deified by other people, such as the wives of the ruling dynasty of the Ptolemies in Hellenistic Egypt. But this was generally not a classical phenomenon. However, that doesn't mean that there are no cases. The first Spartan woman to breed and own horses and then send them to Olympia, where they won chariot races, in 396 and 392 BCE, named Caniska, had a hero shrine at the Plane Tree Grove in Sparta. Another example may be of an Athenian Rhiton discovered in a tomb with the description, "I am the sacred property of Elephantes," which could indicate that Elephantes could have been accorded heroic honors by her family or her community after her death. This Rhiton vase was only specifically used in connection with hero cults and apparently had no other use. Aristotle himself was probably charged in 323 BCE with impiety, Isabella, for offering to Hermias, who was a tyrant of Atarneus and Troas, who he also worshipped, by the way, to his daughter, niece, or concubine, who he also married. after her death in a similar way to how Athenians sacrificed to Eleusinian Demeter, where the problem was, the reason he was charged, was because he mimicked an Eleusinian rite. A woman might also heroize herself, but again, not very common in the classical era. Epicteta of Thera founded an annual 3-day festival for the Muses and the heroes, amongst whom was included herself, her husband, and their sons. Now, this is just the bare minimum because these come from books that are not about deification. And they are from limited examples, one being about the worship of Dionysos, and another one being about women's roles in classical Greek religion. I will definitely read more about this and maybe make a more in-depth video, but let's talk about this. And before I talk about this, I just want to say, from the examples I've seen, trying to look it up and maybe check out what's the literature out on this. From what I've seen, when you're talking about deification in ancient Greece, it's mostly what I've seen is you're talking about like Christianity or like popular political figures, which I do want to look at, but I also want to look at the more common everyday person. And obviously I'm not interested in the Christianity part. So let's talk about this. My opinion on this, I think it's actually really cool. I do. Especially for our women, they need some deification in their afterlife because damn. Now, do I believe in this for myself? Like for my own afterlife to apply it? Definitely not. I don't really want to be deified. I'm pretty cool being immortal and now and forever. But I don't think there's anything wrong with this belief. Who knows? Maybe some of our gods were once mortals who were deified and their worship got popular. Maybe Aphrodite was a human named Aphrodite and her worship got popular. Now I'm half joking because I don't think that's the case at all, especially when we look at their history, but we never know. You never know. Also, I want to say hero and deities are obviously very different. Anyone could be a hero. And in ancient Greece, I'm not sure what era, but I think it's after classical, people worship their families as heroes, and each city-state, village, and town have their own personal heroes. But can anyone be a deity? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. And that I don't believe that worship of a particular god, in this case Dionysus, can make you a god. But also, the definition of a god is subjective. Maybe in the first case, you have become a god instead of a mortal, is not meaning a god like Dionysus. Maybe they mean a god as in you're not immortal anymore. The only other option is to be a god. I'm not sure, and this is just speculation. Also, if you look at deification of political or bigger figures, they were actually being worshipped, as far as we've seen. Like, I'm pretty sure Julius Caesar and Augustus were deified. And besides in hero cults, I haven't seen any proof of these humans who are normal humans who were deified in their death ever become worshipped as a god that became like a big thing. So I don't think in the first case it is specifically talking about becoming a god, but more like joining the gods. In this case, Dionysus in the heavens. All right, before I go on to the next section, I also want to briefly talk about another phenomenon that I've seen that may or may not be related to heroization or deification. When we look at ancient Greek priests, no matter their gender, you often, in some statues, you may see that a certain deity will have like a little, it's kind of funny, like a little small person next to them. And it turns out those people who are in those statues are often priests. So this happens because, of course, a priest becomes so popular and well known that they're honored with a statue alongside the god. Or even in some cases, I've seen a case of a priest getting her very own statue. Now, just because someone gets a statue does not mean they are deified and worshipped. Sometimes people may get a statue just because to honor them. Like, for example, in an Athenian temple, for example, it was either a temple to Ares or Aphrodite. There was a statue of a very popular person to the Athenians. I can't remember why he was popular, but he was, and they put his statue in the temple. That doesn't mean they worshipped him. They just honored him with the statue. So just because you get a statue doesn't mean you're being worshipped. But I just want to point that out. So yes, we've seen cases of priests getting their own statues, or more commonly getting a feature in the deity statue. This is, of course, for only like more popular priests. And what makes them popular, I'm not really sure. When I try to look up the statues, the statue of Dionysus that I'm talking about in this specific case, there's not a name. It just says the statue of Dionysus, and there's like this little like person next to him. I'm like, who is that? And I found out it's a priest. So another fascinating phenomenon that at least they're being honored. So it's more common that they might be heroized rather than deified. But again, I don't have any proof for any of these things, so I'm not going to say which it is. But just think about that. Now, for all of this, what we look at is, can you incorporate it into your modern practice? Of course. I don't know how many people are interested in this, but if you are, go for it. I'm not going to stop you, obviously. But you'd have to have the best intentions and also the right idea of it. Realistically, you're not going to become a god in the sense of like Ares or Zeus, but perhaps in the sense of a hero or in the sense of just going to the gods in the heavens. Also, I don't believe our worship makes a god, but in this case, to be recognized as a god, you'd have to have someone acknowledge that, most likely through worship. So there's that. So if everyone wants to become a god, just die and be deified. There you go, easy tutorial. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm sure this episode is going to be a shorter one, definitely shorter than my last episode, so yeah. Please let me know your opinions in the comments. And of course, now for our ending hymn. I think the best hymn to say right now would be for Dionysos, because he was directly part of our examples. Also, he's one of the few gods, mythically, who was born from a human and a god, so technically a demigod. He's also the only god on Olympus who, mythically, who has one human parent. So, wait, actually no, I lied. But the Big 12, if you're looking at the mythical Big 12, there's more than, I just want to mention this real quick. There's actually more than 12 gods on Olympus. Olympian gods are gods who just live on Olympus. It's like Asclepios is included, Nike is included. So for example, I just want to say that. But yeah, from Dionysus' example, maybe he just got deified and we never noticed. I'm joking. Now we're gonna read the Orphic hymn number 50 to Dionysus. Hear, O blessed son of Zeus and of two mothers, Bacchus and the vintage unforgettable seed, many named and redeeming Damon, holy offspring of the gods, reveling Bacchus, born of secrecy, plump giver of many joys, of fruits which grow well, mighty and many-shaped God, you burst forth from the earth to reach the winepress, to become a healer for men's pain. O sacred blossom, a sorrow-hating joy to mortals, O lovely-haired, a redeemer and a reveler you are. Your thirst drives to frenzy. You are kind-hearted to all, gods and mortals who see your light. I call upon you now. Come, O sweet bringer of fruit. Just know that the gods and the spirits and the divine in general are on your side, and they're hoping the best for you. Turn to them when you need to, and don't forget about them. And don't forget to praise and love them as you do. Thank you for watching. Bye.